You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connections in mind. Overlord is directed by Julius Avery and is being produced by J.J. Abrams, and because of this there's been a lot of speculation that this film is set in the Cloverfield universe. Unfortunately it is not. However, it does feature a group of paratroopers from the 101st Airborne Division, which are airdropped into France immediately prior to the June 6th D-Day landings in 1944. And these men are tasked with taking out a Nazi radar jamming facility in order for Allied air cover to help out the men landing on the beaches of Normandy. However, in the process, these men discover a Nazi science lab which is experimenting on the villagers in a French town in creating unnatural super soldiers for the Nazis so that they can get an advantage over the Allies, and these paratroopers are forced to stop the Nazis in these endeavors. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Overlord, as well as certain other films and TV series. There'll be a full list in the description below. However, if you have not seen Overlord yet, or any of the films and TV episodes listed below, and want to wait until you have, skip to this part of the video. I will be doing my spoiler-free thoughts at the very end, and if after that you can come back and see my spoiler-filled analysis of this film, and yeah, just go proceed from there. With these things in mind though, let's begin. So the real crux of Overlord is that the Nazis are trying to create a undead army from the dead of this French village, so that using a special serum that pretty much makes these soldiers that are indestructible and are able to follow orders from their Nazi masters. And we've seen this plot in many instances. The examples that I was able to come up with were 2 episodes from the 2 different spin-off series of Stargate, namely Stargate SG-1, an episode from season 7, the 2-parter Evolution, in which Daniel Jackson discovers a device that was the genesis of the Fountain of Youth mythology. However, this device can not only reanimate dead tissue, but in so doing, it will keep regenerating undead tissue, and so anyone who is killed and brought back from this device is essentially a zombie at this point, and they are very hard to kill by traditional means. They're only able to be stopped by essentially destroying the body completely, much like the undead soldiers in Overlord. There's also a comparison to be drawn through in the Stargate Atlantis episode Vengeance, in which the evil wraith known as Michael starts experimenting on villagers on a planet, and the Atlantis team finds these villagers being experimented on, and these villagers have been transformed into essentially bug hybrids that are monsters, and Michael has entombed them in an underground laboratory that the team must escape from, but also stop Michael from being able to deploy these bug creatures on the galaxy as a whole. And they must prevent these bug creatures from reaching the surface, much like in Overlord, where the Nazis have created this lab underneath a church in this French village, and these soldiers must not be allowed to wreak havoc on the Allied invasion. And so the corporal kills himself along with all these mutants, and collapses this underground laboratory so that that this knowledge remains buried and that they cannot be allowed to reach the surface. Going off of this, and this was referenced in the Atlantis episode in question, we see a very similar situation in the movie Aliens, in which Ripley and the Space Marines find this planet and the colony decimated by the xenomorphs, and their lair is deep underground. However, they must act so that these xenomorphs cannot be allowed to reach the surface and deal unknown amounts of damage to beyond this planet that they're on. So they have to destroy them where they are, much like in Overlord with these undead zombie Nazis, essentially. Now, the initial setup of Overlord, namely of a small strike force of paratroopers having to land and destroy a vital enemy stronghold or piece of technology that before the invasion or an attack, has been done a bunch of times, both in the realm of science fiction, namely comparison can be made to Return of the Jedi, where the Force Moon of Endor's shield generator must be destroyed by the rebels before the main Alliance attack on the second Death Star. And this has also been done in historical fiction as well, namely the film The Dirty Dozen, in which a small strike force is planted inside Normandy, inside France, back from the beaches, and these men are tasked with killing a bunch of high officers of the Nazi leadership, and in order to sow chaos. And they also are tasked with destroying a radio tower on this chateau, much like the radar jamming tower in Overlord. And there are other examples of this as well throughout. Those are just the two ready examples that I was able to come up with for Overlord in this instance. Now, with these things being said, and if you have skipped to this point, this will be spoiler-free from now on. What did I think of Overlord, and should you go see it? I would say you should definitely check it out. It is definitely an entertaining film. However, there are certain caveats to this. One is, it is a very gory film. There's a lot of body horror going on with this. So if you're one with the faint of heart, this is definitely not the film that you should go see. And also, there are certain leaps in logic that you were asked to take, and if you are unable to take these leaps of logic or suspend your disbelief in these instances, you'll probably not enjoy it as much as others. I personally come from a historical background. I've done previous videos on World War II histories, mainly surrounding the release of last year's Dunkirk. So I know the historical background of the Normandy invasions as well as going into this. And while these aren't huge leaps of logic that we were asked to make, and historically speaking, the Nazis did lots of experiments, horrific experiments on the people of Europe, and so these aren't entirely out of the realm of possibility, but there are certain things in here that I found somewhat objectionable, namely the fact that our main character is an African-American soldier who comes from a not a very violent background, so his character arc is essentially going from not being able to kill a mouse, really, and from being able to take on these Nazi hellspawn, essentially, and that arc is fine. However, he is embedded with he's placed in this unit of the 101st Airborne, and there are certain character interactions between him and the others, the members of his unit, that have to happen because of the historical context of the interaction between whites and blacks during the 1940s. Which is the exact reason why during the 1940s that there were not really any integrated units at that time, and it's a Hollywood reality because of modern sensibilities, and of course we've gone beyond certain things, hopefully, but the fact that these interactions are written into the script as part of character development between the camaraderie between our main hero and the rest of his unit, the fact that these things have to happen before we see them take on the main enemy, which is the Nazis, it's those specific things that would not have happened in reality because there were really no integrated units in World War II, especially frontline units. So it's stuff like that that kind of gets in the way of me personally from enjoying it fully. But overall, I would say it is an entertaining blend of action and horror. It serves as a passable war film and it also serves as a passable horror film. I just think that the combination of them tends to get into the mix, and especially in the third act where we're trying to do both at the same time, that it kind of drags in certain areas. And for me personally, I didn't think that that really worked as well as it could have. So on the whole, I would say this is definitely not the worst film I've ever seen by far. There are certainly other horror films out there revolving around zombie Nazis, and this is definitely not the first of that. And also in the game of Call of Duty World at War, there was a mode in that game where you have to hunt, you end up killing zombie Nazis. So this is not a new concept, and this is definitely not the worst iteration of that. So with that in mind, definitely go check it out and see for yourself. I personally I was entertained for what it was, but afterwards, there's not really a lot left it doesn't leave a lasting impact. And if you're okay with that, I think you'll enjoy this. So yeah, definitely go check it out and see for yourself. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts of Overlord. And if you watch my analysis, let me know if I missed anything. I certainly don't know everything about these things. And if you haven't yet, let me know what you thought of the movie and my analysis when you come back to this. And I appreciate whatever audience I can get. So thank you so much for sticking with me through the end of this video. Be sure to check out my next review, which will be for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. And yeah, be sure to look for that. And thank you so much for watching. And just remember, there's nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.